welcome to Bucks Beat Podcast. This is episode 105. We'll have a deep dive into the Falcons and the NFL draft. And good friend Matt Schaub, former Falcons quarterback, will join me in just a moment. And we will run through this year's quarterback class as we get ready for the first round coming up a week from today. Wanted to start by talking about our Falcons and their plan. Obviously, Mr. Blank let the cat out of the bag when he met with the media a week or two ago, saying that, look, the Falcons are going to focus on defense in this draft. And there's some big needs over on that defensive side of the ball. I'm going to count them for you. And I believe defensive tackle is the number one need on the defensive side of the ball. Got to replace Grady Jarrett. You've got edge rusher, where a lot of you Falcons fans are really excited and hoping the Falcons will take an edge rusher with that 15th pick of the first round. I think cornerback is the second biggest need on this defense, opposite of A.J. Terrell. Need a legitimate corner on the other side of the field. Safety is a problem. Got a void at one of the two safety spots. And, heck, I wouldn't mind having an athletic linebacker to plug and play on the defensive side too. So, look, let's see. That is 5 needs right there on the defensive side of the ball. We've only got 3 quality picks: first-round pick, second-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. So I'm not sure how the Falcons are going to cover up all these needs they've got. Look, Jeff Ulbrich takes over as the defensive coordinator. He is the 4th defensive coordinator in the last 4 seasons. Just no continuity at all. We seem to blow it up every year and bring in somebody new. Falcons are hoping that Ulbrich will come in from the Jets and be able to figure out how to sack the quarterback. Falcons number 31 out of 32 teams in the NFL in sacking the quarterback last season, and a lowly 28% quarterback pressure rate, which is among the worst in football. The other thing is the Falcons have to figure out how to stop the run. They allowed 4.5 yards a carry last season, one of the worst rates in the league. A lot of talk about the pass rusher position, and for good reason. It's been a long, long time since John Abraham lined up at defensive end and was bringing the heat on quarterbacks, and we have not really had a consistent threat ever since. So I think replacing Grady Jarrett is the biggest need on the interior defensive line. Help slow down that run game, and I believe also that finding a legitimate quarterback opposite A.J. Terrell is the second biggest need, and I've got those 2 needs above the edge rusher situation. We did get Leonard Floyd on a 1-year contract that can get after the quarterback. So we've got an opportunity to solve one of these issues in the first round. Next Thursday night, 10 minutes between picks. Falcons should be selecting somewhere around 10:30 next Thursday night. This is going to be must-see TV. And if you're like me, you can't wait to see how this is going to work out. It's been 20 years since the Falcons were top 10 in the NFL in sacking the quarterback. So I feel your pain, man. Trust me. Feel the pain. Falcons were at the Combine, and they made a big deal out of this. 158 defensive players were at the Combine. The Falcons were taking a long look at every single one of them. They also, at the Combine, they had an opportunity to interview players, and they used all 45 of their interviews on defenders. So combine that with Mr. Blank admitting to the media that their focus will be on defense in this draft, and you got to take that seriously. I do remember a year ago, we used 3 of the first 4 picks on defensive linemen. So I guess this will be the second year in a row we're looking to load up. At some point, you got to hit on some players. All right, let me bring on former Falcons quarterback Matt Schaub. And, Matt, before we dive into this quarterback class and the NFL draft coming up next week, want to hear more about that first-round pick we had a year ago and that 3-game sample size of Michael Penix Jr. I was really thrilled when the Falcons pulled the trigger on that pick last year and was really excited after I saw the 3 games that Penix played in at the end of last season. What did you make of the way he played last year?
I thought he played really well, given the circumstances and coming in as a rookie. And I thought he really battled well, especially on the road in some tough environments. I think he handled the huddle and the offense and the process really well. I thought he was cool and calm, and he delivered the football well. Like we all knew, he has a strong arm. It jumps off his hand really well. I think a lot of people, the way the season was trending, was waiting for that move to be made. And I think everyone was pleasantly surprised with how he played at the end of the season.
You know, prior to the year, Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, there was a lot of talk about having a quarterback. At the time, they were bragging on Cousins and his ability to process information quickly at the snap of the ball. Obviously, one of the key factors of any quarterback doing well in the NFL, you got to be able to do that. And I thought Michael Penix Jr. did a great job of that.
He really did. And I thought the offensive staff, Zach Robinson, TJ Yates, the quarterback coach, I thought they did a good job with the plan and really helped him with his eyes. Because that, like you said, that's one of the most important things playing the quarterback position is having good eyes, knowing where they're supposed to be and what you're supposed to look for pre-snap and then post-snap, because the picture changes a lot of the times in the NFL with the defenses that you face. And I thought he processed it really well. I thought he, made the right reads. I thought he, from what it appeared, he made the right checks, right? He didn't get them into negative plays, and he was able to, decipher what the defense was doing pre-snap, and then he was able to get the ball out on time, and he was very accurate with it. I think that was one thing that was, high grades on him coming out in the draft was he was very accurate, and especially on the down the field throws, and with some of the targets that the Falcons have, that pays off, and I think we all saw that.
Looked to me like, just from the outside looking in, the rest of the guys really took to him. His leadership looks really top notch, and I'm assuming that's because of 2 things. The young man works really hard, and also he wants to win.
Absolutely. Obviously he played big time college football, so he's a leader by nature, and you really see that. And I think just from what Kirk was dealing with coming off his Achilles injury, I believe that, Michael Penix Jr., he got a lot of time in practice, taking a lot of reps. He got some time in the preseason, not as much as I think a lot of people were hoping to see, but I'm sure in practice he was getting a lot of reps. So he had a good rapport with the guys in the huddle, in the locker room. And so they really gelled well. But it's just a testament to him coming in, putting his nose to the grindstone, working hard, and the guys really rallied around him when he got in the game.
Matt, what do you make of the news that came down a couple of weeks ago that Matt Ryan will be working with Penix up at the camp, at the complex, helping get him ready for the upcoming season? What are some of the things you think Matt Ryan will be teaching or talking to Penix about?
Well, if you're Michael Penix Jr., what better guy to learn the ropes and the tricks of the trade and how to prepare, how to get ready during the offseason, and what's to come as a full season as the starter. I mean, last year going into it as a rookie, just trying to learn how to be an NFL quarterback, how to be successful, how to go about your weekly process. Right. But what better guy than, the best to ever do it in a Falcons uniform and one of the best to do it in league history. Matt showed from day one that when he came in, what it takes to be a pro and how to be successful. So I think it's so valuable for Michael that he can learn from Matt. What he's going to learn, I mean, it just depends on what Matt's willing to throw out there. But there's so much there that you can hang on every word, from leadership, but especially from your eyes, your footwork. And then how to prepare. There's so many things that you can take away from what Matt Ryan can offer. And I think that's something that not just this offseason, but that's going to be a resource for Michael Penix Jr., deep into his career as he becomes a full-time starter.
Matt, I was looking forward to talking about this quarterback class we're going to see go in the draft a week from today. First round will be next Thursday night. And it looks like most everyone's expecting the Titans to take Cam Ward with that first pick of the draft. Give us a glimpse behind the curtain, so to speak. What are these guys like Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart? What are they dealing with a week out from the opening of the draft?
Well, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. I mean, things are so much different than 20 years ago when I was coming out, but there's so much time. I mean, this whole off season, I'm sure for those guys, it's just been a whirlwind, right? You finish your college season, you go right into training for the combine, whether you're playing in a all-star game like the Senior Bowl or something like that, but then you're training for the combine, you're training for your pro day, you have private workouts. So there's so much stuff that goes into it. You never have a chance to really sit back and just take a deep breath and enjoy the moment and relax. And I think that's the big thing with 1 week to go for these guys is take a moment to just breathe and take in the moment and enjoy it with your family, your friends, your coaches, people that have meant a lot to you. And I think that that is something that you can get lost in this process. But for them, that's what they need to be doing right now. Because, I mean, the hay's in the barn, like the saying goes. And, whatever's going to happen is beyond their control. But, they've done everything they can to this point to put themselves in a position to be a first-round draft pick. And we'll see where the chips fall next Thursday night and Friday, Saturday. But these guys have done so much this offseason. It's time to just sit back and relax for a little bit.
Cam Ward, really big arm. Looks to me like he maneuvers the pocket very well. What are some of the things you like about what he does?
Yeah, I think he has a really good feel in the pocket. He gets those drop. His eyes are up. He's looking downfield. He's a big arm, can make all the throws. But he's pretty athletic, but he doesn't always look to run when he gets some pressure. He can sidestep. He can just move one step, keep his eyes downfield, and still deliver the football. He has a good feel in the eye of the hurricane of where to be, to deliver the football when the pass rush is descending on him. So I really like what he does, just moving around and making some off-schedule plays from within the pocket, not necessarily when he has to move around and scramble.
Shedeur Sanders, you get a lot of people like Mel Kiper Jr., they're in love with the guy. And then you've got a handful of these analysts that don't believe that he's going to be going in the first half of that first round coming up next Thursday. What do you like about his skill set and what he does?
I really like again, a guy that can make all throws. I think his accuracy and his ability to put the ball where it needs to be on receivers, I think that is undervalued by a lot of people. But when you really watch his tape, he's very, very accurate. And I think that that'll go a long way in coaches' minds and in scouts and general managers. But I think when you really look at it, I think teams really like him. I think they love him. When you hear the Browns at 2 and the Giants at 3, and you look at what they've done at the quarterback position, obviously there's reason to speculate why he might not go to those places because they have other needs as well. And you look at the signings the Browns made with signing Joe Flacco, and they have Pickett. And then with the Giants, you have Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. So do they want to take that pick, or do they feel they can take another position player, Travis Hunter, or an edge rusher, and then still at the top of the second round or trading up back into the first round to get a Shedeur Sanders? You're trying to steal an extra pick there, and they have the picks to do that. If you're the Browns, you have 10 picks throughout the draft. If you're the Giants, you have 8 picks. So there's plenty of draft capital for them to get up there and get him. But I don't necessarily understand the reason to think he might fall other than that fact. I don't think it's anything that's going on with questioning Shedeur Sanders' ability to be successful at the pro level. I just think it's teams, process and what they're trying to do with the draft and trying to get the most value and the most picks.
The biggest criticism I would have of Shedeur was all the sacks. And, a lot of people want to blame that on the poor offensive line play. But I think a lot of the times he may have just been holding on to the ball a little bit too long. Is that something he can get corrected?
I believe so. If you really look at him, you couldn't be more right, Buck. When you look at him in totality, and I had a similar situation in my career when I was going somewhere to a new team, and the year before there were so many sacks. And when you really break it down, there's both, right? You can blame some on the offensive line, but there's a lot on the quarterback. You can correct some of those mistakes by, that might happen up front, or some of those misses by getting rid of the football, knowing where your answers are, and being able to solve the problems that might be around you. So it's all hands on deck, whether it's the protection, the backs in pass pro, or Shedeur just getting the ball out of his hands and not holding on to it. And sometimes when you're as athletic as some of these kids are, you think you're Superman back there and you can just make anyone miss and make plays. And then that can create negative plays by taking sacks. So I think I think probably half of them Shedeur could have solved himself.
Saw something earlier today researching for our little conversation here, and the over and under on quarterbacks taken in the first round this year is 2.5. Do you think Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe? Do you see another quarterback going in the first round, or are we just going to see two guys?
I think there's a strong possibility there's three. I really do. I think Jackson Dart could sneak in there, and I think a lot will be said for what happens at number 2 and number 3 with the Browns and Giants. What do they do? But if one of those teams don't take a quarterback, which obviously I don't think they will, one of them is going to trade back into the first round to get that quarterback. But I think there's some sneaky teams that in the last part of the first round that may look at a future starting quarterback, maybe not right away because they have a veteran, that might look to add a young prospect for the future. You look at the Raiders. Yes, they took Geno Smith, but could they look to take a quarterback at some point? The Steelers, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? Is he really going to be their quarterback they try to sign, or are they near the end of the 20s? Are they going to look to bring in a young quarterback? There's some chances. What about the Rams? Is Matthew Stafford, how many more years is he going to play? Do they want a young project for the future? But I think if the over-under is 2.5, I'm going to take the over.
Jackson Dart, now one of the knocks on him is playing in this Lane Kiffin offense where there is a lot of predetermined throws that are going to be made instead of processing after that ball snapped. Do you like what Dart brings to the table? Do you think he's got the skills to play at the next level?
I think with the right team around him and the right weapons, I certainly do. His athleticism, I love the competitive nature that he brings. He's fiery. He's a competitor. He loves to play the game. And I just love the confidence he plays with. And he can throw it. He can run it. And he's tough. And so I think he has a lot of positive traits that a lot of teams would be looking for. But again, I think he's a guy who's around him. Who can he operate with, and what are the receiving? What's the running game like? What type of defense you have? But in the right situation, I think he's a player that can thrive and do well.
Can Milroe solve these accuracy problems? I'd be afraid to take him just because of that.
Accuracy is one thing. It's hard to solve because as you get to the NFL, the window of opportunity to hit receivers is much slimmer than it was in college football, even in the SEC level. And so that's a tough one to solve. You can help that with maybe 50% of the throws, trying to get more easy completions, clear reads, not necessarily wide open guys, but you can coach guys into the more opportune choice and things like that. But being accurate when it's tight window, when it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10 plus, sometimes that's hard to coach into guys, but you can at least coach them to the point of the throw and get them in position to then make an accurate throw. But it's ultimately what type of skills do you possess? I think he can be successful, again, given the right opportunity in the right place. I'm not sure if it's a first-round pick or, maybe even a second-round pick, but I sure do like his toughness, his athleticism, and what he can do with the football in his hands.
There's a group of other quarterbacks I'm really curious to see where they end up going. Will Howard led Ohio State to the national title, led K-State to the Big 12 title. Quinn Ewers, who started off at Ohio State and, played a lot of great ball at Texas. Tyler Shuck, who I think is about 26 years old, if I have that right, finished up at Louisville, but has a lot of the skills that you need to play at the NFL level. And Riley Leonard, another one, had a lot of success at Notre Dame this year. What are your thoughts about that grouping of quarterbacks and where
there's a lot
go?
Yeah, Buck, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of football that was played between all those guys. You mentioned it yourself there at multiple places, right? So they have shown that they can adapt themselves to a change of environment, a new system, and still play at a real high level. The one thing I like about Tyler Shuck from Louisville is the system that he ran. He was under center. He ran play pass, the play action game. He was in the shotgun, and, it was a pro style type of offense. So I think that translates well to the right situation and the right team. I think there is a lot of development for some of these guys from the college game to the NFL, even though you're playing at big time programs like Will Howard at Ohio State or Quinn Ewers at Texas. There is a learning curve there. And I think it's a matter of them getting in, having the right veteran around them, the right coaching, to coach them up to the pro level. But you look at it, and there's just a ton of talent there and a ton of competitiveness, and a lot of accolades, right? A lot of guys that have played well at the college ranks. And it'll be interesting to see how teams look at those guys. And, it's one of those things, teams might not be, there might be a time period there in the mid-second to third round where you don't see any quarterbacks going. But once one drops, some QB needy teams, maybe not for starters, but for a long-term project in that fourth, fifth round, you're going to start seeing those guys tick off the board one by one, because once one goes, it usually it just takes that first domino.
What about the rival Saints? Derek Carr suddenly has come down with a shoulder injury, and I wonder what they're thinking right now. Do you think they might take a quarter? They have not taken a used a first-round pick on a quarterback since Archie Manning.
It's been a while, right?
1970 or something. I mean, it's been a long time.
That is a long time. But when you have a guy by the name of Drew Brees there for as long as they did, why would you, right? But I think they're going to be in the market for a quarterback, but I don't know if it's early. How much are they inspired by Spencer Rattler's play from last season? I don't think that they're that high on him to be the starter going in if Derek Carr can't go. But do they want to spend some draft capital early in the first half of the draft? I can't see it, because I feel like there's some spots where they're getting a little long in the tooth and they might want to get young, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But I do think that they're going to look to add a quarterback. I really do. I think that that's a spot that team, especially with new coaching staff, that they're going to want to get right leading their football team and have some stability there.
One of the boys at the coffee shop, Matt, believes that the Saints might be that team that starts Rattler all season, tank, get that first pick, and take Arch Manning with that number 1 pick next year.
What coffee shop are you?
That's a lot of losing.
That's a lot of losing. You might see those garbage bags from back in the day on some of the fans if they start doing that. I don't see them trying to tank the whole season, but yeah, I mean, I don't see it going well from the get-go for them. I'm obviously a little biased here, but I think that they'll be in position for a top pick, whether it's number 1 next year. I don't know, but I can't see a team just saying from right now in April before the draft saying, hey, let's just throw this season and let's move on to 2026. I'm not seeing that.
Matt Schaub, former Falcons quarterback, friend of the show. Matt, we appreciate your insight. Thanks for taking some time to sit down and kick it around with us. Look forward to the draft, and we'll hope to talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, Buck. Appreciate it.
Always great to catch up with Matt Schaub, one of my favorites, and it has a lot to do with the fact you may remember Matt Schaub was a weekly guest on the Buck and Kincaid show back in the day, and always enjoy getting Matt, or Schaubby as we call him, getting him on. Want to give you the heads up. Remember, next Thursday night, the Buck Belue Show will be going from 6 to 10. It'll be the NFL draft. The curtain will get pulled back next Thursday night. We'll have the first-round picks, so we'll be live on the air during the first 12 to 13, 14 picks of the draft. Lead you right into that Falcons pick at pick number 15. And be joined by some multiple guests who will be with me on the show. We're all fired up about the 2025 NFL Draft, so hope you'll join us next Thursday for this special edition of the Buck Belue Show. It's going to do it for Buck's Beat this week. We'll do it again next week. Hope you'll join me then.